Into our town the hangman came, smelling of gold and blood and flame. And he paced out bricks with a distant air, and built his frame on the courthouse square. The scaffold stood by the courthouse side, only as wide as a door was wide, a frame as tall or little more than the gaping still of the courthouse door. And we wondered, whenever we had the time, who the criminal, what the crime. That hangman judged with a yellow twist of knotting hem in his busy fist. And innocent thought we were, with dread we passed through his eyes of buckshot lead, till one cried, "Hangman, who is he from whom you raised the gallows tree?" Then a twinkle grew in his buckshot eye, and he gave us a riddle instead of a reply. "He who serves me best," said he, "shall earn the rope of the gallows tree." And then he stepped down and laid his hand on a man who came from another land. And we breathed again for another's grief, that the hangman's hand was our relief. And the gallows frame of the courthouse lawn by tomorrow's sun would be struck and gone. So we gave him way, and no one spoke, out of respect for his hangman's cloak. The next day's sun looked mildly down on the roof of the street of our quiet town, and struck the black in the morning air, the gallows tree on the courthouse square. And the hangman stood at his usual stand, with the yellow hem in his busy hand, with a buckshot eye and his jaw like a pike, and his air so known as businesslike. And we cried, "Hangman, have you not done yesterday with the alien one?" Then he fell silent and stood amazed. Oh, not for him was the gallows raised. He laughed and laughed as he looked at us. "Did you think I had gone through all this fuss to hang one man? That's a thing to do, to stretch the rope when the rope is new." Then one cried, "Murderer!" One cried, "Shame!" And into our midst the hangman came. To that man's place, "Do you hold," said he, "with him that is meant for the gallows tree?" And he laid his hand on that man's arm, and we shrank back in quick alarm. And we gave him way, and no one spoke, out of fear of his hangman's cloak. That night we saw with dread surprise the hangman's scaffold had grown in size, fed by the blood beneath the coot. The gallows tree had taken root, now as wide or a little more than the steps that led to the courthouse door, as tall as the writing, or nearly as tall, halfway up the courthouse wall. The third he took, we had all heard tell, was the usher, an infidel. "And what," said Hangman, "have you to do with the gallows bound, and he a Jew?" And we cried out, "Is this one he, who has served you well and faithfully?" The hangman smiled. "It's a clever scheme, to try and stretch the gallows beam." The fourth man's dark, accusing song had stretched out comfort hard and long. "And what concern," he have us back, "have you for the doomed and the black?" The fifth, the sixth, and we cried again, "Hangman, hangman, is he the man?" "It's a trick," he said, "that we hangman know, for easing the trap when the trap springs slow." And so we ceased and asked no more, as the hangman tallied his bloody score. And sun by sun, and night by night, the gallows grew to a monstrous height, The wings of the scaffold opened wide till they covered the square from side to side, and the monster crossbeam looking down cast its shadow across the town. Then through the town the hangman came and called the empty streets my name. And I looked at the gallows soaring tall and thought, there's no one left at all for hanging, so he calls to me to help pull down the gallows tree. And I went out with a right good hope to the hangman's tree and the hangman's rope. He smiled at me as I came down to the courthouse square through the silent town, and supple and stretched in his busy hand was a yellow twist of the hempen strand, and he whistled his tune as he tried to trap, and sprang down with a ready snap. And then with a smile of awful command, he laid his hand upon my hand. "You tricked me, hangman," I shouted then, "that your scaffold was built for another man. And I no henchman of yours," I cried. "You lied to me, hangman, you fully lied." Then a twinkle grew in his buckshot eye. "Lied to you? Tricked you?" he said. "Not I. For I answered straight and told you true. The scaffold was raised for no one but you. For who has served me more faithfully than you in your cowardice hope," said he. "And where are the others that might have stood side by your side in the common good?" "Dead," I whispered admittedly. "Murdered," the hangman corrected me. "First the alien, then the Jew. I did no more than you let me do. Beneath the beam that blocked the sky, none had stood so alone as I." And the hangman strapped me, and no voice there cried "Stay" for me in the empty square.